Still got 7 million fewer votes. Okay? A lot of people didn't show up, number one. Number two, they're very close in those toss-up states.
He criticized Trump's first 100 days and mentioned he frequently speaks with Kamala Harris, who faces a tough decision about her political future. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced a plan to upgrade the air traffic control system, seeking upfront appropriations from Congress for a 3 to 4 year effort. The overhaul will include new telecommunications, radars, sensors, and a flight management system. And former boxing champion Manny Pacquiao will reportedly unretire to fight for the WBC welterweight title this summer. Pacquiao will fight Mario Barrios on July 19th in Las Vegas. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Now run.
And my co-pilot this morning, D. Will Sutton. Hey, Will.
Good morning, good morning, good morning,
Happy
New Orleans.
Friday, everybody. So
Friday.
We are going to open this Friday talking about the phenomenal Centennial Gala put on by the Xavier University of Louisiana.
Have seen this sister. Oh my God! There were so many people all dressed up. And somebody walked up to me and touched me, and I was like, "Whoa, that's you, Dr. Wyatt! Whoa,
Will,
glam.
She could clean up now, Will. She can put it on now, Will. Let's be clear.
Oh, you were looking good, sister.
Thank you. And I'm telling you, it was an amazing event. Let's talk about the highlight of the night. What was I bet you know what the highlight of the night. I'll let you tell us. What was the highlight of the night?
All right. So do we want to go down the financial route, or do we want to go down another route?
I just want you to pick the moment of the night, and I'm gonna tell you my moment of the night. So if you don't say the same one I say, I'm gonna say the other one. But go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go with the newsy thing.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the financial thing.
Okay, I'm gonna
leave the money to the woman.
Xavier has these galas.
Yes.
And so it's not like they haven't had a gala before.
Right.
And they do pretty well with fundraising, and some people come prepared to not empty their pockets, but share a little bit more than you or I might be able to do.
Yeah.
So there were some folks who gave $2,500.
Oh, well, maybe we're on the same page here.
Maybe there's some people giving $5,000. There's some people giving $10,000. A piece of Terrence Osborne went for like $21,000.
Yeah, and it was a bidding war.
And that was, if you've been into an auction, it can get exciting when,
it's fun,
3 or 4 people and then 2 people, and they really want it, and they keep going, and they raise it up by 1,000. That happened last night. But the big thing that was caused me to sit back in my chair and then stand up.
I stood up,
was Magic Johnson donated $500 million.
$500,000.
$500 million.
But he did it so casually. Like he was just talking.
Yeah.
And then he just said, and he was talking directly to former President
Francis.
Mm-hmm. And he touched his arm and he said, and because of this, I'm going to personally donate $500,000. I was like, wait, what? Everybody was like, what? So let me tell y'all right now, they didn't start the bids low enough for me to even get involved in this auction.
Right. Yeah, there were people with paddles who clearly came in prepared to bid.
Yes.
And there were items outside of the ballroom, and there were people bidding on those things as well. But there were clearly people who came for some fun some economic financial fund
Yeah.
with their paddles.
And
So
Xavier
let
was
me just
prepared.
say that when you had to check in at the tables, all right, and so they had the paddles ready. Well, I was part of the line where I don't need a paddle tonight.
Listen, I was part of the line that said, because the young lady said, "Would you like to put a card on file?" No, they were putting your
Taking
card
your credit card
on file
in
so that
advance. In advance.
so when you raise the paddle.
Oh
they
yeah,
can-
yeah.
they can-
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
I said, no, baby, WBOK don't pay me enough to put my card on file.
But it was wonderful to
no,
watch.
ma'am. No, ma'am.
And
Yeah.
it was a great joy to see Xavier supported like
Yeah.
that. And there were all kinds of folks
Bill
up
Bellamy.
in the room.
Bill Bellamy was the host.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, he came, he spoke. What was that? Brian Gumble.
Brian Gumble
Was on the stage
with a special connection to
Yes,
Dr.
yes,
Francis. That was like
yeah.
amazing.
It was
and-
amazing. His
Yeah.
father.
Yeah,
And
his
Dr.
father and Dr.
Francis.
Francis. And
Yeah.
Dr. Francis, when he lost his dad, who died at, I think, 51,
Yeah.
he didn't know the son, but Brian Gumble wasn't Brian Gumble that we all knew. He was
Yeah.
a young man of like 23 years old, hadn't really gotten started. And Dr. Francis said, "I've admired your father for a long time, and I want to model my life after him.
It's
I
just-
can't replace your father, but if there's ever anything you need, a ear, advice, or anything, I'm here for you." And they've been tied together since. That was quite a story.
That was quite a story, but it also tells you you could see impact in real time in that room. Like there's one thing to affect someone's life, and it's another thing to have impact. And for folk to show up and show out on behalf of former President Francis the way that they did, that's impact.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was at the university nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the room was full.
Right.
Maybe every seat, I don't know, but it was a lot of
I didn't
folk.
see any empty seats.
I know, it was a lot. And the food was good. The food was good. You
I
missed
had the
a lot of the
prime
good
rib.
food. You listen. You
How was
didn't-
that fish?
I didn't have fish.
Oh, they didn't get.
They didn't have
Nope.
enough fish.
Oh, boy.
No, they didn't have enough fish.
You
We're
got
not gonna talk
veggies.
about
You
that.
got veggies.
But no, I didn't get veggies. I got the beef.
Okay.
But I
all right.
didn't. Yeah, I just owe you pork. I give you
Yeah.
beef. I owe you
Right,
pork.
right.
But the food was good.
Chocolate tart.
Oh my god. Oh
I
my
saw
God,
that was coming. I was like,
so
no,
good.
no bread for me. I got
Yes.
to stop somewhere.
That's
you know?
it was so good.
Oh my goodness! And
The
then
cocktail
the brother
hour.
came and offered me another one. I was like,
Yeah, like no, bro, I don't want any more.
I really do want one.
Yeah.
But no,
You wouldn't
I
have made
can't
it to
do
work today,
No,
Will.
no, I couldn't do it.
No.
I couldn't do it.
But I don't think you made the cocktail hour, did you?
I got a bit of it.
A bit, oh yeah, because
And
they were
thanks to you, I was pointing in the right direction.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
So I
yeah,
got a
go
little
get it.
something.
because they
A
had
little
lamb,
something.
they
But I
had
was
lamb,
like,
crab cake, beef Wellington, and it was just being passed all night. There was a lady, a champagne lady. She
Yeah,
was
right.
she was standing. There was champagne all around
Yeah,
her.
multiple bars.
The bar, open bars, like don't leave out
multiple
open bars. Like you can literally have your way. and then
and
some
and
of
it wasn't just we have wine and water.
no. I
This
had a
was the
lemon
good
drop.
stuff.
I had a lemon drop. I mean, that's as far as I can go.
Yeah, right.
I'm not- And then I had water.
And then when the thing was over, there was more reception-like stuff.
Yeah.
They came out with more
Yeah.
appetizers and
They
and
did.
drinks
It
and
was
stuff.
crawfish
It
pies.
Yeah.
It was,
was like I just ate. But did you say crawfish? Okay,
it was
I'll take one.
It was a really
When you
good
coming
night.
back?
It was a really good night. And a lot of folk were there. Everybody looked wonderful. A lot of the New Orleans political
establishment.
was there. I saw Councilwoman Helena Moreno.
Absolutely, she was up
I
in the
saw
house.
Jason Hughes.
Yep, Jason Hughes was there.
Mayor Latoya
Councilwoman.
Cantrell.
Yep, and
Leslie
Councilwoman
Harris.
Leslie Harris was
She
there.
was there.
Yep.
So I saw quite a few people. I was actually looking for Councilman Oliver Thomas. I really
Yeah,
was.
right.
I even asked you, I was like, have you seen, OT? Because I just assumed he would be there, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to not
Yeah.
speak to him. But I didn't see him. And here's the thing, I didn't see everybody in the room. So I just know if his 7-foot self was in there, I would have been able to recognize him. But
Well, it
I
was kind of
didn't.
hard to see everybody in the room because you couldn't go 10 feet
No, it
without
was-
Who?
I know.
I know your name, but is that you?
And it was so funny because everybody who's ever interviewed on WBOK stopped me, but most of the folk who did, they were on the phone, so I didn't put the face with the interview.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you must have been on the phone because I don't forget a face. And most of them were like, yeah, we were on the phone. We came on with such and such. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it was a good night. It really was a good night.
Yeah.
It was a good night. And you can tell people don't get to see me dressed up often because everybody was like,
You were looking good.
don't threaten
And
me
I
with a
was
good
not,
time.
I was not the only one noticing.
Listen, let me tell you something, Will. I have a secret magic power that nobody knows. Maybe Miss Alicia know about my magic power, but everybody don't know about my magic power. It's a secret. But when I want to sprinkle it, I can.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it was
so
like-
one more time, I gotta say,
It's a good name.
$500,000.
$500,000. Yes.
So
Hold on. Let's not skip over. There was about 8 or 9 fully paid scholarships.
Yes.
They were they
Yes.
were asking for donors to sponsor a full
Yep.
scholarship for a student, and they
Yep.
were only looking for 1 or 2 at the time.
That's right.
And then paddles just started going up everywhere, and I'm
It
like,
was amazing.
I was like, what is happening
I want
here?
to help.
Yes,
I
yes.
want to help. I'm in the
Yes.
moment. I am here.
It made me
if-
want to go
you know,
re-enroll in Xavier so,
Yeah, but-
so I
it
could
was
get one
like,
of these
you know,
fully
I mean,
funded scholarships.
it was really
Yeah.
a great night.
It was.
And Xavier President Renaud Verret has to be so proud that what he and his team, that they were working that event.
Yeah.
That team was working that event.
They were.
I
I mean,
mean,
they were. Remember, I told you I was like, "Will, there must be spotters in here," because there were people that were like placed to spot the pedals when they went up because it was, dimly lit, so they didn't want to miss anybody. And all you started to see was people running around saying, "Here, here, here," and the pedals were just going up. I'm like, "Wait, that's about 6 at this point," and then more started popping up.
Funny you mention that.
Fully funded scholarships.
Because I hung around after, had to get that Jeffrey Osborne in.
Oh, okay.
But walked around and I saw Chuck, who was the auction guy.
Okay.
And I was like, can I talk to you? I mean, how often do you do this and what's going on? He does 60 of these a year at least.
I can tell.
He has done this in other states. He's mostly works Southern Louisiana, and he's based out of Kenner. And when you hire him, you hire his team. So yes, there are people in the audience who aren't Chuck up on the stage, but they are helping Chuck go, and see where he can't see. I was like, wow.
That's what I knew. I knew something was going on because I was just like, wait a minute. But it was a wonderful thing to see. I don't know what the final tally was in terms of what was raised, but I do know there was an audacious goal. And what was the initial goal?
Well, the goal, the overall campaign goal, which was announced last year, is $500 million.
Okay.
And that's a bodacious
audacious.
goal. I mean, that's a
Audacious.
big goal.
Yes.
That kind of, I mentioned this to the president the other day when I interviewed him. That kind of sent a little shockwave. It's like maybe y'all aiming too high.
No, you don't underestimate Xavier, right, baby.
His point was, no, this is what we need.
Yeah.
And this is what we need to launch the next century. And so, yeah, this is the right number. Well, before last night, they were up to about $126 million, which is a good
It's
number.
nothing to sneeze at.
That is a good
Yes.
number. But with last night, with Magic's $500,000, and the number of people who gave $21,000 and $17,000 and $10,000 and $5,000, because there were, as you said, there were multiples of them.
Yes.
It wasn't like one
No, it
person
was a
gave
bunch, yeah.
10,000. There were like a bunch.
Yeah.
They were looking for, actually, Chuck, I think, said, I'm looking for 3 or 4. He got way more, than 3 or 4. So they're going to be pushing a $1 million mark, I think, just for last night.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there were people who couldn't make it, and they're going to be. I saw friends from Atlanta.
Oh no,
who
there
came
were
in just
there
for
were
this.
there were people from all over. The lady I was sitting next to was Virginia.
Mm.
She came in from Virginia, but she's also PR.
Yeah.
But we're going to continue to talk about it because it was a wonderful event. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our 7th ward pope.
Well,
that's what
you know,
everybody said.
That
He's
was
out
a
the
Xavier
7th
talk,
ward.
but some of everybody at every table walking around is like, how about our pope?
New Orleans is not a real place because the moment they found out he had any sort of connection to New Orleans, the memes started. They have the Pope second lining already all over social media. He's like, with his footwork, they've already given him a nickname, you know, because that's the affection of New Orleans.
Yeah.
And so they're calling him Pope, but they're spelling it P-E-A-U-X-P.
Yeah, right. Well,
So-
and Jari Honore from
Yeah.
the Historic New Orleans Collection
Yeah.
broke the news on Facebook.
Yes.
You saw it and sent it to me.
I did.
You were the first one to let me know.
And the journalist said,
and
you was
then-
like, where's the reference for this? Send me
Yeah,
the link.
right. Well, you know, I wanted to know. And then I found Jari's post. And, you know, if you've never met this brother, spend any time, I mean, he just knows so much stuff.
Yeah.
And he knows what to hit and click. And he put that out there, and people were like snapping it up and sending it all around. And next thing you know, local media was on it. And it's in today's New York Times.
It is.
The headline is New Pope Has Creole Roots in New Orleans. In the New York Times.
And the sign that it's a good move in the right direction, every person I spoke to at the gala, including the young lady we interviewed here from
Yes.
Xavier,
Mhm.
they're all
Dr. Bello.
they're all excited.
Yeah.
Sister Casa is from the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. She was my professor at Xavier multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
She smiled from ear to ear. And if you know Sister Costa and she's smiling, then that gave me all of the understanding that I needed in terms of if this is a good move in terms of what folk wanted. And so, listen, New Orleans has already adopted the man. I'm sure there'll be a second line in his honor somewhere at some point because New Orleans is really just not a real place.
Yeah.
It's really fun to watch all of the memes that they're putting together. Everybody's talking about if they're related to him.
Absolutely.
Because it's a Prevost.
Prevost?
Right.
Y'all don't know a Prevost?
Right. But listen, y'all, we're going to go to break so we can hear a word from our sponsors. But when we come back, we'll hear from the people at GoFundMe and Team Rubicon talking about the Hurricane Preparedness Week. Y'all stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. Crowns and Hops, a black and woman-owned brewer based in Inglewood, California, is making it part of its mission to pave the way for more diversity in the craft beer space. Benny Ashburn is co-founder of Crowns and Hops. She says one of her goals is to help redefine what diversity means in the beer business.
When we first started 7-8 years ago and we had conversations with some of the beer associations and leaders, their best understanding of diversity was not enough white women. So it was at that point that I knew being not only the face and a trusted voice as a leader inside of craft beer would then provide more comfort to the black females and that do drink beer and want to be a part of this community.
Ashburn is helping to pave the way for more black founders in beer with the help of Samuel Adams. Crowns and Hops is the latest winner of the Brewing and Business Experience-ship from Sam Adams. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Something amazing is happening in networking. Organizations are scaling with less stress. That's because CDW is designing and implementing intelligent HPE Aruba networking solutions that simplify and secure operations. With automation at the center of your data center, growing pains can be a thing of the past. HPE Aruba Networking and CDW. Make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/Aruba.
welcome to Staples.
Hi, I hear Staples prints it all.
Oh, you bet. Posters, banners.
Can you print it all for Father's Day?
Oh, of course. Photo gifts like canvas prints, photo puzzles.
Can you print it all for graduation?
Sure can. Custom cards and invites.
Can you print a huge banner with the grad's picture?
Oh, definitely.
Even an embarrassing baby picture?
Oh, those are the best kind.
I know, right?
Print it all for dads and grads at Staples. And right now, get 40% off custom cards, invites, and photo gifts. N75 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed, stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
The legendary Broadway show is back. The Wiz. The Chicago Tribune raves. It's an eye-popping, high-intensity revival and a cause for celebration. The music, the voices, the legend returns. Entertainment Weekly says, run, don't ease on down to this spectacular revival. The Wiz. Playing the Sanger Theater May 13th through 18th. Tickets at BroadwayInNewOrleans.com.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning. Wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Friday, everybody. Listen, we're getting ready to jump into conversation with Melanie Standage, the manager communications at GoFundMe, and Jeff Bayard, senior vice president of operations at Team Rubicon. They're here talking about Hurricane Preparedness Week and how GoFundMe and Team Rubicon are teaming up to help communities better prepare to weather this season's storms. Good morning, Melanie. Good morning, Jeff. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
Good morning, y'all. How you doing?
Listen, we're great. I feel like I'm on the verge of losing my voice, but I'm trying to hang in there. How you doing?
No.
How y'all doing?
Doing great.
Thank you for having us this morning.
No, look, thank you for being here. This is quite the partnership. So talk to us about the partnership. How did you guys come to be a partner, be partners in this work to talk about Hurricane Preparedness Week?
Yeah, great question. You know, GoFundMe's really become a critical resource for disaster relief and preparedness, especially in hurricane-prone regions like New Orleans. And it's so great to be here with Team Rubicon. You know, we hopped on a call together. Both of our organizations really have one goal, and that's to help people. So we got together and said, let's share some tips on what we can do together. GoFundMe brings the fundraising tools. Team Rubicon has years of on-the-ground disaster response experience. So we just want to do everything we can here to provide tips and get some resources out to help people.
So how are you going about doing that? What makes this partnership any different from some of the other hurricane preparedness agencies and organizations? What can people expect?
Yeah, it's a great question. Jeff has some really great tips to share on the ground preparedness, how to get ready for a hurricane. And at GoFundMe, we're really excited to announce we've just launched the 2025 Hurricane Relief Fund from GoFundMe.org, which is a nonprofit partner to GoFundMe. So basically what this does, it opens up donations so that we can start fundraising to immediately help people after a hurricane hits. Donations that go into this fund provide direct cash grants to people who've been impacted by a hurricane. So, we're going to talk about some fundraising tips here for you guys on my end, but Jeff, you've got much more on the ground experience.
So
yeah, thank you. And I think, I don't think you can have too many partnerships. That was a great question. What makes it different? I think it's, people get information, as y'all well know, from very, very, multi-source, so we're just another voice that hopefully can reach, if we can reach one person, we're winning, we hopefully want to reach more than that. But, just some simple things. And I know New Orleans well. This is marks a 20-year, I don't really want to say anniversary, but a 20-year memorial, if you will, for Hurricane Katrina, which, I worked in both Alabama, Mississippi, and New Orleans in Louisiana for those storms, or that storm. But I think it's that, we can get too complicated sometimes, and it's the basics. Know where you live. That's first and foremost. Know the evacuation routes. And I think something that's really important that we forget, all across this country, and we see it all too well in Team Rubicon, that, the true first responder is your neighbor. If you don't know your neighbors, get to know your neighbors. The community is really where it all starts, where it all begins, and where the recovery is going to be after the fact. So, those are 3 simple tips that don't cost you a dime.
So Melanie and Jeff, here will be my question, because as someone who lives in the state of Louisiana, particularly in the city of New Orleans, what do we do and how do we prepare in the wake of a lot of the federal dollars possibly not making it to us because of what is happening at FEMA? Are you guys doing anything to work with communities who are facing FEMA cuts?
Yeah, that's a really, there's probably hours we could dig through that question alone. But let me say this, from Team Rubicon's perspective, I was speaking to a group earlier this week. Every disaster that FEMA's in, Team Rubicon's in, right? And my directive to my team is we better be in before FEMA, and that's not a slight at FEMA. That's just because we can move quick. But we also work a lot of disasters where FEMA is not present, based on, whatever indicators that the federal government's looking at, so forth. But, we really operate kind of under those 4 humanitarian principles, which is address human suffering when found, paying attention to the most vulnerable. So I think you've got to do a little bit of separation from what are those initial steps that you as a citizen can take to protect your life, your family's life, and your property, and then the recovery dollars that follow on to that. We will focus, as we always have, after a storm, on how can we rapidly get people back into their homes. So that focus hasn't changed, but definitely there is a great deal of uncertainty from the government side on, how this is going to play out. And that uncertainty, unfortunately, creates problems in preparedness and practicing and kind of, knowing who's on first, who's on second. All that's been disrupted, so obviously it's going to create a lot of uncertainty in the system.
Go ahead, Melanie. I'm sorry.
Oh, GoFundMe plays a really unique role here. So, we just celebrated on Tuesday our 15th anniversary since the company started, which is hard to believe. It seems so soon, and yet it seems like such a long time. But in that time, more than $1 billion has been raised on GoFundMe for disaster relief. That's just an incredible amount of help that's been delivered to people all over the world. Since 2020 alone, more than $240 million has been raised on GoFundMe for hurricane relief. And what's so unique about this is that's money that's getting into people's pockets, like sometimes within 24 hours after a hurricane hits. People have lost everything. They turn to the platform for essentials, and their friends want to help them do that. And so they'll fundraise for, anything from clothes to a hotel to stay in after they've lost their homes. And it's just a really unique supplement to other things. We never want to be a replacement for anything, but GoFundMe.org's Hurricane Relief Fund is really unique. Last year, over $1.4 million was raised into that fund, and it helped give out over 2,000 grants to people who were affected by hurricanes. And that money showed up within 24 hours. And, that's life-changing to someone who has just lost everything. That can be the difference between staying in a hotel or not that night, or having clean clothes to change into the next day or not. And that's really, really huge.
So everybody knows GoFundMe. Y'all been out there building a big name, and lots of people go to the platform like every day. especially when there's a spike of news or need. How do people go on GoFundMe and donate specifically to hurricane preparedness generally, or for Louisiana or for New Orleans?
Yes, great question. People can go to GoFundMe.org today and donate to the GoFundMe.org Hurricane Relief Fund. Donations to that fund are 100% tax deductible, and it begins funding those grants so that as soon as a hurricane hits this season, those grants can go out the door. It's dollar for dollar. Every dollar that goes into that fund goes out as a grant. And the other thing people can do right now is they can start fundraising on GoFundMe for preparedness. It's never too early to start. People can go to GoFundMe.com and start a fundraiser today to help purchase some of those supplies that they might need. We see that a lot after a hurricane. As soon as actually news comes about a hurricane, GoFundMe has a dedicated crisis response team that activates. So our trust and safety team, as soon as we hear about a storm, is scanning the platform, verifying fundraisers, vetting those fundraisers to make sure funds get to the right place and to make sure our customers are supported.
So this is a national effort, so it's not segmented, like if somebody wanted to help somebody in Lafayette or Lake Charles or Jefferson Parish, they wouldn't be able to do that, but you're encouraging them, if they live in those communities, to start a GoFundMe account targeting that. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah. Anyone can start a GoFundMe at any time, for anything. If people want to give specifically to their neighbors in Louisiana, they can go to GoFundMe.com and search. You can search your own neighborhood there to see, like Jeff was talking about, it's so important to know our neighbors. And so you can go on there, see what your neighbors are fundraising for. If they are fundraising for hurricanes, there's people still from Hurricanes Helene and Milton still fundraising on GoFundMe. People in New Orleans fundraising on GoFundMe. You can go there, search your city, and see those fundraisers in your area to help your neighbors.
So Jeff, how can you just briefly speak to Team Rubicon's focus on equity in terms of disaster response and how that plays out in hurricane impacted areas?
Yeah, definitely. I think one. Team Rubicon, we look at need first, and we focus on areas with, higher social vulnerability index. That's one of our indicators that we look at. But I go back to the humanitarian principles, humanity and impartiality. That's what guides us, and part of that, provide response without discrimination, find need where it is and serve that need. So, we do have indicators. Another indicator that we look at, obviously, is the uninsured. We look for those that, aren't going to have the traditional means, and we know that their road to recovery is going to be a little longer than others. That's where we really want to dive in. So, when we see equity, we look at equity as need and how can we best serve that need. And again, as y'all seen and we've seen time and time again, the most vulnerable communities are going to have the hardest time in recovery. They're going to a lot of times have the hardest time in preparedness. So we really focus on those communities and look at need as just that, as need, and what can we do to help that need.
And Melanie, for me, in terms of GoFundMe, how do you ensure that the monies that are collected are actually going to those most impacted by these disasters, especially when we're in a fast-moving crisis?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The safety of our community is a top priority, especially during natural disasters. And there's a ton of work that goes on behind the scenes to make that happen. The moment a disaster hits, like I said, GoFundMe's crisis response team activates to make sure those funds get to the right place safely and quickly. So basically, our team on the back end, they're looking and they're verifying fundraisers. They want to ensure it's clear who the organizer is, who they're raising funds for, the relationship between those two parties, and then how funds are going to be used. That all has to be really, clear before any fundraiser is verified. So when a storm hits, we launch what we call centralized hubs. It's basically a central landing page for that particular storm. So you could go to GoFundMe.com/Helene, see every GoFundMe fundraiser that's been verified for Hurricane Helene. It just makes it a lot easier for people to have one place to go to. And, our team is really well versed in this verification process. 15 years of this. We have a ton of years helping people during these fast-paced disasters. The thing that really sets GoFundMe apart, too, is the protections that the platform has in place. So to keep the platform safe, donations are processed by our payment processors and only released to the person named as the beneficiary of the funds. If there are any questions during that period, our team will hold the funds until that process is really clear for how they're going to be used. But then the other thing a lot of people don't know, GoFundMe has actually a donor protection guarantee. It's the only donor protection guarantee in the crowdfunding industry. It's called the GoFundMe Giving Guarantee. So in the rare case something ever goes wrong, we guarantee donors a full refund. But, the majority of people on our platform, they're here to fundraise for their neighbors. After a hurricane, there are so many people turning to help those in need. They see their neighbor's house might be gone. They start a fundraiser to help them. And we do everything we can to both vet and verify those fundraisers and get them on those hubs quickly and then get the word out about them. We share stories on our social media platforms. Our communications team shares as many of these stories we can with local news to help people spread the word, to help them get as much help as possible.
Okay, so when people have heard you all today and they hadn't really been thinking about hurricane preparedness, if I'm understanding correctly, then Jeff, what you want them to do is count on Team Rubicon for key points before we even get hurricane warnings. And Melanie, what you want them to do is use the GoFundMe platform to think ahead and start planning for needs. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
Okay. So again, how can they do that?
So to start, you can give to the GoFundMe 2025 Hurricane Relief Fund at GoFundMe.org. Or if someone would like to start a GoFundMe, they can do that today at GoFundMe.com.
Okay. And Jeff, tell us about your work, Team Rubicon's work. Aside from the emergency response, what other kind of things do you do for long-term resilience and rebuilding efforts?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one I'm glad we were asked. I think it's important to know that, when we think about hurricanes, or really the disaster cycle, it's a year-round sport. It doesn't ever stop for organizations like Team Rubicon. One of the services that we do, what we call before the storm, so to speak, we do a lot of fire mitigation. Now, that may not, resonate in New Orleans necessarily, but we have done fire mitigation in Louisiana, and we do that predominantly, in the western part of the states. And that is done, again, at a lot of times at some of your more social vulnerable communities that may not have the grant funds or the means to cut fire breaks and do, kind of simple measures that can prevent devastation from what we've seen in the wildfire area. We also have a rebuild program. We're actually building some homes as a result of Hurricane Ida just south of New Orleans. And we're doing that in Florida, and we'll start similar programs up in, up the coast from Helene. So, we are in the communities. I think that's also important. We're a national organization. It's really local, made up of local gray shirts. That's our volunteers. We have 190,000 across the country. We have one of our operations managers in New Orleans, lives in New Orleans, Isis Toussaint. So, I think that being a fabric of the community is key. But, some of our most tangible work before a storm hits is our mitigation measures, community preparedness measures that we do throughout. New Orleans is very well resourced, but as y'all know, you can get a couple parishes either direction, and those resources aren't near what New Orleans has, and that's really a lot of our focus is where are those unresourced areas that we can really provide some support.
So you all started in about 2010 with the Haiti earthquakes, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what prompted what became Team Rubicon at that point? And at this point, 2025, how have things changed for Team Rubicon?
Yeah, that's a good question, and just realize that both of our organizations are celebrating 15 years, which is great. Team Rubicon started by 8 individuals. It was founded by Jake Wood, a Marine Corps veteran. Was actually sitting on his couch in Los Angeles and, getting ready to go to graduate school, saw a need and realized that he had some skills from the military and, joined a group of 8 that went down to Haiti and they came back from that experience and realized that veterans have a unique ability to, be in some tough environments, make decisions in stressful environments and meet needs. And it was also an opportunity for veterans to continue their service. They hang up one uniform and put on the gray shirt, which is our uniform, and continue to serve community. So it really grew from there to where we are today. We're a veteran-led organization. That's in our DNA. That's our ethos. And what makes that great about Team Rubicon is we don't like the word no. So we're going to do everything in our power, especially with partners like GoFundMe. We're going to do everything in our power to get to a yes so we can help a community. And we, we're not just veterans. That's one of the first questions I get asked is, do you have to be a veteran? Absolutely not. We've got a lot of seats on the bus, and everybody has a role. That's one of our cultural values. And, we want to get you on our team because we know we can put you in a position to really help somebody on their worst day.
So, Jeff, you're national, and the WBOK audience is across New Orleans, Jefferson Parish, St. Bernard, Southern Louisiana. And if somebody wanted to call somebody local, or if they wanted to go and see somebody to learn more about Team Rubicon and maybe find out how they can help, how can they do that?
First thing I would say is go to teamrubiconusa.org. That's teamrubiconusa.org. Check out our website. It's really easy. You can find a ton of information there. And then I would encourage them, even if you say, well, I don't have time to deploy or, I can't spend a week here, I can't do this, and that's totally understandable. Join the organization. We have, like I said, I have an operations manager. We have a pretty good presence in the New Orleans metro area of gray shirts, and there's always community engagements. We do things called service projects. They're not as, they're not our disaster response, but, there's a lot of communities that we're doing park cleanups. We're partnering with Habitat for Humanity. So we're always active. But first step I would say is go to our website and see what you think and, step into the arena.
All right. And Melanie, being 15 years in, do you see another 10 or 15 years? How do you see this moving forward?
Definitely. Yeah, we're excited to be here with Team Rubicon. And, GoFundMe has worked with nonprofits for years. Since 2010, over 155,000 nonprofit organizations have received support on GoFundMe. So this week we actually just launched GoFundMe Pro to help more nonprofit organizations grow. We definitely see more of this. We want to help nonprofits grow more in the future. And, over the next 15 years, no doubt we're going to have a lot more hurricanes, and people are going to continue to turn to GoFundMe for help, and we want to help them be as successful as possible. So, I would just share with your audience, anyone who's looking to create a fundraiser, or God forbid, if anyone is affected by a hurricane and does need help and turns to GoFundMe, start that fundraiser, share it with your friends and family, share your fundraiser on social media. Getting the word out is the best thing that you can do. Give your fundraiser a clear title, a clear image, a compelling story. We do recognize in the middle of a crisis, telling a story on GoFundMe is probably not the first thing people are thinking about. So we've implemented some new AI tools that can help make those fundraising decisions easier, help you write your story, everything from the beginning of starting a GoFundMe to sharing your fundraiser. There's tools on there that'll help you do that. But we're really excited. Over $1 billion raised for natural disasters is just wild, and we really hope to continue helping as many people as we can over the next 15 years.
Well, we want to say thank you here at WBOK for joining us this morning. Thank you to Melanie Standish, the Manager of Communications at GoFundMe, and Jeff Bayard, Senior Vice President of Operations at Team Rubicon. Thank you for all you do and your teamwork to make certain that families and communities are covered when they're facing probably the most devastating storms of their lives. So thank you for the work that you do.
It's
Thank you both for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a
It's
blessed one.
7:47, guys.
Listen, we have to go to break, hear a word from our sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to jump into the news that matters. If you know anything about me, you know education is, to me, the key. It's the foundation, and we're going to talk about that when we come back right here. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
This summer, let your child's creativity shine at Camp Art, New Orleans' most vibrant, arts-driven camp experience for kids ages 4 to 12. Hosted by Beyond Stage, Camp Art blends visual art, theater, music, dance, and creative writing with New Orleans history and culture. Plus, field trips, guest artists, and camper showcases. With full-day programming before and after care and sessions starting June 9th, it's the perfect fit for working parents. Fun, enriching, unforgettable. Register now at BeyondTheStageLLC.com/Camp Art and follow us on social media at Beyond the Stage LLC.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month, we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today, talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Friday. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer, Nyron Sanders, and my co-pilot this morning, the Will Sutton. Hey, Will.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans.
Listen up, y'all. So I received a text because I was having a conversation, believe it or not, about my interest in, possibly entertaining jobs elsewhere, right? And Chicago Public Schools was one of the places that I've just been in conversation with, just talking about the possibility of that, right? And so I received a text that said, there's a report that just came out about Chicago Public Schools, and there's a reading crisis and a mathematics crisis.
How bad is it?
Whereby some schools, 0% of the Black student population can proficiently read.
In what grade?
Or do mathematics on grade level, and this is high school, middle school.
High school and middle school?
High school and middle school. So
and they can't.
They cannot read and do math.
And they
0%.
can't do basic math.
Yes, and in some of these schools, 0%. This is the Black student population. 0% are proficient in reading, because when I got the text, I went to look for the data myself. And I pulled up this report, and it says 0% of the Black student population in these particular schools are 0 proficient in math, 0 proficient in reading. But one of these schools has a 91% graduation rate. One of them has a 93% graduation
possible?
rate. One of them
How
has
is
an
that even possible?
82% graduation rate. It's not possible unless you're socially promoting the children. I'm actually livid about this. Like, I can't even control myself in this moment, because what is happening in Chicago is mirroring what we're dealing with in New Orleans. Because the report, when they went to talk to lawmakers about this report, it says Governor J.B. Pritzker and CPS CEO Pedro Martinez and Mayor Brandon Johnson only ever brag about record graduation rates and yearly student growth. What does that sound like? There are two
using
schools.
the kids for numbers.
There are 2 schools that I've spoken about particularly on the air here. One of them is in Algiers, and one of them is being run by a person who was supposed to be our superintendent if the charters would have had their way, right? The reading proficiency is between 4 and 7% respectively. I do not understand what more has to happen for people to start to really hold folk accountable for the literacy rate across this country. There's no reason. And let me also say this. The operational per pupil spending in all of these schools, where the 0% Black student proficiency rate is in the $30,000 plus mark. So you're getting $32,805 per pupil, and you can't teach them how to read?
So they went through K through 5, where they were supposed to get the fundamentals of reading and then build on those skills, certainly by 3rd, 4th, 5th grade.
I'm angry, Will.
And then in middle school, you really should be at an entirely different level with reading. I'm just setting aside math for the moment, because reading is so fundamental in life and in education in particular. I don't know how you can progress in education, being educated, gaining knowledge, without reading.
Here's a quote from the article, because this is contentious, right? So, in a speech regarding CPS change to an elected school board, Rep. Wilmore said, "The folks in this body should be ashamed. The vast majority of Chicago's Black students can't read. They can't do math at grade level." So,
doesn't sound like they can't do it at grade
representative, a state rep, she's Black, her name is Cam Buckner. She responded, "I'm a little flabbergasted at the gentleman from the 110th District diatribe. As a Chicago Black student who reads very well, I will say that for those in my district who have reading comprehension issues, I will welcome the representative to refund some of the money that Chicago sends to your district to help us out." Here's the thing. I will not deny inequities. There are school districts where you're receiving more money, more resources, but you're not going to tell me, because I went and found her school, right? Because see, I want to understand this. I'm angry. There's no way in the world. So her school, Morgan Park High School, 9 out of 10 Black students can't read proficiently. Most aren't even close. 93% of children are non-proficient.
So she's lying or out of touch?
No, she's not lying, because she can read very well. That's
right.
what she's saying.
She can read.
She can read very well.
She's 1 in 10.
But most of the time when these people are making these comments, they're not in these schools and they don't know what's happening now. Maybe when you were in school, the tone and tenor of education was different. But we're not going to pretend like the influx of charter schools all across this country don't have some responsibility for this. Because everywhere you go where there are charter schools, you hear this growth stuff. How they growing? Where they growing at? 93% of kids are non-proficient at this particular school. Only 6% of them meet the expectation of proficiency, and only 1% exceed it. That's a crime. That's a crime.
So how do we let students get to middle school? I'm not even talking about high school. How do we let kids get
because
to
we
middle
playing
school?
politics with our children. That's what we're doing. Because we like the people who are running the schools. Because the people who are running the schools are connected to our politicians who protect them in these jobs. They got people right here in the city of New Orleans disservicing children just like this, and nobody ain't doing nothing about it. But they're graduating though. You ought to be ashamed throwing $60,000 galas and 70% of your kids can't read on grade level. This is criminal. I'm sick of it. I don't have time to play. Because what is happening in Chicago, this is all of the black schools on this list. All of them. All of them. And I'm talking high schools, elementary schools, all on this list. And out of the list, there's about 25 schools here listed. 10 of them, there's 0% proficiency in reading and mathematics.
I mean, that's flabbergasting. I mean, I can't imagine that many students, that many schools, and if they're at zero now, it's impossible that they haven't been at zero for years.
What I'm understanding from the data is they don't care about black children being literate. That's what I gather from this. Because there's nowhere in the world all of these highly educated folk, all these degree folk could walk around and think that this is okay. Because you see, one thing I do know about white folk, you're not going to disservice their children and everybody going to just be turning a blind eye and acting like it's not happening. This is shameful. And we're not going to pretend like Chicago is an outlier. Chicago mirrors New Orleans. That's exactly what's happening here. I guarantee it's happening in Detroit. I guarantee it's happening in Philly. This is a shame. And what I'm understanding is it's happening because we've allowed folk to disservice our children so much that we think this is normal and we think this is acceptable. But at the moment you have somebody like me saying something about it, then I'm the pariah because I surely do always have something to say. You don't deserve to make $300,000 if your kids can't read. You don't deserve it. You get your money when my kids can read. I'll give you a bonus. Every time you show me some growth in my kids reading, some proficiency in my kids reading, maybe you can earn your money. But you're not coming in the door making $300,000 and my kids can't read. And most every CEO in this city make that kind of money. That's shameful. I'm not afraid to earn my money. You can hold my money till my kids are reading and then you pay me my money. That's because I believe in what I can do. This is shameful. 0% can't read. 0% can't do math, but 91% are graduating. And I'm going to say it again. There's a school right there in Algiers who mirrors those same numbers. 4% reading, 7% mathematics. But we get to hobnob at events all across the city and pretend like we teaching children. I'm against it. And I don't care who don't like it.
What school is that again?
It's a school in Algiers. And when and what I will say is it's not hard to find it out because every time I put a name on something, I get attacked.
Yeah.
I get blocked from a job.
Yeah, right.
You understand what I'm saying? But you could continue to perpetrate a fraud on kids.
So what do we do about kids?
Stop pretending.
But what if they're already at this point, they can't read? Oh, my God.
Well,
I know we got to go.
We do have to go, but I'm going to answer your question.
So.
It's going to take so many years to reverse what is happening to our kids right now. And then they're going to put all the pressure on the teachers when it's not the teachers disservicing children. It's the system that's disservicing children by putting people in positions that they know they don't deserve to earn money that they don't need to have. If your kids can't read and do math, you don't deserve to make $200,000 and $300,000. You just don't. You don't. You're getting all this per pupil funding and your kids can't read. And then you want to blame the kids for picking up guns, trying to figure out how to feed themselves. Because what job gonna hire them and they can't even read the application? It's sickening. From Chicago to New Orleans, it's a crime. But
it's 8:01. 8:01, y'all.
Listen, when we come
got
back,
more coming.
We
got
do.
more coming. Who we
But
got?
when we come back, we're gonna hear from Kevin Ferguson from New Orleans and Company. Y'all stay with us right here. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to celebrating the hardworking teachers of New Orleans. Thank you to all the educators who came out to the 4th annual NOLA Teacher Fest at Champion Square. We had over 2,000 attendees. Special thank you to our sponsors, Allstate Sugar Bowl, Entergy New Orleans, Raising Cane's, Align Ed New Orleans, Agenda for Children, and Oshner Children's for their commitment and support. Teachers and school leaders, enjoy the summer break.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Former President Joe Biden, in an interview on ABC's The View, says he believes he would have defeated President Trump if he had stayed in the race.
Yeah, he still got 7 million fewer votes. Okay? A lot of people didn't show up, number one. Number two, they're very close in those toss-up states.
He criticized Trump's first 100 days and mentioned he frequently speaks with Kamala Harris, who faces a tough decision about her political future. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced a plan to upgrade the air traffic control system, seeking upfront appropriations from Congress for a 3 to 4 year effort. The overhaul will include new telecommunications, radars, sensors, and a flight management system. And former boxing champion Manny Pacquiao will reportedly unretire to fight for the WBC welterweight title this summer. Pacquiao will fight Mario Barrios on July 19th in Las Vegas. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Back. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Shout out to my super producer and his finger, the Naira Sanders, and my co-pilot this morning. Hey, Will.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans.
So right now, we have our friends from New Orleans and Company, Mr. Kevin Ferguson. He's talking that mess, talk about something. Y'all have me just filling in space to market here, huh? No, sir. We want to talk to you. We love New Orleans and Company. How's everything going this morning?
Things are going great. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Wyatt. Will, it's great to see you. And I was kidding about that. Obviously,
I know you were. Listen, we got to lighten the folk up. We got to let them know that it's not always anger over here.
Of course. Always excited to have Mayor Morial in town as well. He's such a legend in everything he's done for the community.
Yeah,
so I'm glad to hear he's up next.
So tell us about National Travel and Tourism Week.
That's fun.
This was a great week, Will. I tell people I've got one of the best jobs in our company because I get to interact with our members and the community and kind of interface between them. And there's very few weeks that are more fulfilling than National Travel and Tourism Week. This is a national week that's celebrated across the country for over 40 years now. But like most things, I like to think we do it better here in New Orleans than other people do.
Yeah.
And, we've truly tried to make it a recognition of the impact of our industry and the people that make that industry happen, right? So as impressive and as important as the statistics are on the impact of travel, what it does for our community, what we derive from it, not just in the city, but in the state, the impact's really the people. 85,000 plus people that are employed by this industry that are truly superstars that show up every day, whether it's raining, whether it's snowing like we had earlier this year, whether there's saltwater intrusion, hail, whether it's hot, to make sure that the people that live here and the people that visit here have incredible experiences. And so it's a great week for us. We start off Monday with Transportation Driver Appreciation Day.
Mm-hmm.
So our teams were out at the airport distributing 500 lunches to taxi drivers, Uber drivers, ShareLift drivers, showing our appreciation. And it's always funny. We've been doing this for a few years now, and some of them, oh, I remember you guys from last year, but others are like, oh, what's going on? We're like, hey, we're with New Orleans and Company.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
How much do I owe you?
travel. And they're like, and look, I don't know if you've experienced this, but anytime you're out with the sign that says free anything, people are expecting a hook. What do I have to sign up for?
Yeah, right.
And we're like, no, we're just here to thank you, because they're a vital part. When you think about people traveling and your experiences traveling, you get to the airport, you leave, and that first thing you do, you get in that vehicle to go where you're going. And usually there's a conversation about, oh, where are you from? What are you doing here? And that's your first engagement, your first touch point in that city. And so those folks are really on the front line with all of us promoting travel and tourism. So it was a great way to say thank you.
Well, that sounds like a wonderful thing that happened on Monday. I mean, free food, and I don't have to give you my email address, my phone number. You didn't ask for my name, see my ID.
Yeah. Well, it was great too, because they've got a couple lots where they stage those drivers at, and so some people are driving out and grabbing it. Some people are parked waiting and come and grab it, and then folks would come back. Hey, there's 2 other guys here. Can I get lunches for them? We're like, yeah. Of course. We had some other materials for them, some sustainable lunch bag that they could hold on to. A copy of our visitor's guide to keep in the vehicle to give the visitors when they're on the way to or from the airport. So it was really a great start to the week. Always enjoy that.
And then it continued the next day.
Oh yes, we do a full week. So Tuesday we do random acts of kindness. This is something we started a couple of years ago. Really trying to again show our appreciation for the folks on the front line of the industry. So we activated this year at 20 member businesses all around town. Really bringing little treats from Hubig's Pies, Snowballs. I think at Audubon Zoo, we did cheesecake and dessert for about 400 of their staff. So really try to get around, show our appreciation. And it's amazing. I'll tell you a brief story. One of our senior salespeople, because our staff helps out with this, so they go out and help distribute these items. And they went to, I think it was Dick Chase's restaurant a year or 2 ago. And she was like, you know what? I'm not going to lie, Kevin. I wasn't thinking that folks would get excited about thank you cards and Hubig's Pies, but she's like, everybody lit up when we came in there. And I told her, like, this is why we do this, right? It's not, we certainly want to do the bigger things and deliver for the industry and the people that work in this industry.
Right.
But everybody appreciates a thank you. Everybody appreciates recognition and somebody taking the time out of their day to say, hey, we appreciate what you do and you're an important part of what we are.
Two words that can mean so much. So much.
I tell my kids that all the time. I hope they listen one day, Will.
So can you talk to us briefly about the Chase Legacy Awards?
We were excited about this. There's one of the things we do every year is either a pep rally or a luncheon. So we hadn't actually done the luncheon since COVID, since 2020. So my first time and my team producing it. But the luncheon's a great opportunity, again, to recognize the importance of travel, but also to really honor some of the special folks that have had an impact on this. And so this year we were really excited to honor the Chase family with the Legacy Award. When you look at that family and what they've represented in our community for over 60 years, it goes well beyond just being stewards and legends in hospitality. It's the community impact, the involvement in the civil rights movement as well. And so, we had talked to the family a year ago about wanting to do something and present them this Legacy Award. And this year, the timing was right with the luncheon to have them there, so it was great. I think we had about 8 members of the family there. Stella Chase Reese, who's running Dick Chase. Zoe was there. Dick himself, Edgar IV. So it was great to be able to present that, to talk about the impact of that family, to talk about what they're doing to inspire that next generation too, not just in the industry, but also to be engaged civically in the community. And really a special moment. It was one of the 3 kind of special presentations we did. And as you're sitting there, because we're always, I think, looking forward, right? We're always talking about what's next, what's coming to town next. What are we doing to advance tourism and hospitality? And when you have time like yesterday to reflect on the people that were really stalwarts in this industry and help develop it, it's very humbling to really think about the impact that people have had when you're trying to do a lot of the similar stuff and keep this industry in the city moving forward. So
I'm really glad you all recognize what the Chases have done over the decades. Sometimes if we live here and we go to Doogie Chase, we thinking like, well, this is our restaurant, and and sometimes we don't pause long enough to think about the impact the family has had over decades. And sometimes we don't think about the people who work there who aren't named Chase, who've been a part of building this thing for decades. They've been there for a long time. So I'm sure they too appreciated it. And, Dr. Wyatt and I were at the Xavier Gala last night. Now, I'm not going to name anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that when a Dookie Chase dinner for 10 went up for bid, it got thousands and thousands and thousands of bids, donations, and went for thousands more than some other things.
It was a table for 10.
Yeah.
You couldn't beat it, right? It's a table for 10. So it was really, it was an experience. And what that family means to this city should always be revered. And so I also do know that you have a Job Fest coming up. So what can attendees expect from the upcoming, it's the 10th anniversary?
Yeah, I really want to talk about this for a minute. This is something, we get a lot of great days at the office. Like I said, I'm fortunate the role I'm in. We're engaged in this stuff with the community. We're working with our members. So it's always exciting to see those things come together. But the Job Fests are absolutely incredible. So I joined New Orleans Company 3 years ago. And this was an idea that came from my predecessor, Cheryl Teamer. She really wanted to have an impact and make sure that we're connecting our community with opportunities. And these are not just job opportunities, they're career opportunities there too. And that's something we always like to highlight. The great thing about this industry, it is an industry of opportunity. There's positions from entry level to senior management that are available there. We'll be celebrating this 10th anniversary this year at the Joy Theater. We're very excited about it. One of my favorite parts of the Job Fest is I've never been to a single one where people were not hired that day. And so it's exciting to see that. People getting jobs, people getting started on their careers. And it's an incredible thing to see. We do these in the community, so we go around the city. We'll have from New Orleans East to Algiers on the West Bank to Treme to downtown. For this 10th anniversary, the Joy Theater is a great setup, centrally located.
Good public transportation.
Great public. That's always a focus for us, right? So I think we did one at the Lions Center. It was probably my first one 3 years ago. We've done, I'm trying to remember what they call it now, off of General DeMeyer, Martin Berman X.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mars, it renamed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, those areas are a focus. We always have great ones over at Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure on Broad. That connectivity to public transit is important. Doing it in the community is important. You want to make it accessible for people. And we'll have about 25 to 30 employers there tabling. We'll have some of our nonprofit partners there as well. I think whenever we look to get the community together, we always want to have an industry focus, but we also want to bring folks that can support. So we've had numerous nonprofits over the years that attend these and provide some support for the community as well. But just really a great opportunity to connect people in our community to jobs. Our mission at New Orleans & Company is to inspire, promote, encourage travel to the city for the economic, social, and community benefit of New Orleans and its people. And while as a team we function for that whole mission, a lot of the work of my department's on the back half of that, trying to really make sure that we're impacting the community in our city. And the Job Fest are an incredible example of that, connecting people to these employment opportunities, supporting our local businesses by helping them stay staffed and bring people in. And so it's always an incredible day. But we'll have entertainment, we'll have some giveaways, some special prizes at this one to celebrate the 10th. But really just want to tell the story of that impact and what it means. But it's a great day. I encourage folks from the community to come out and join us. That's going to be on June
3rd?
June 3rd, yes, at the Joy Theater.
Joy Theater.
9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we're excited about that. And if I could bring it back a second, back to the luncheon, one of the things we do there as well is honor industry champions. And it's interesting because, the call for industry champion goes out to our members. We get tons of submissions. It's always one of the most challenging things to select. And I was looking at what we ultimately selected this year, and it was a little geared towards folks that have been longer tenured in the industry, but I think it's a great example to kind of talk about some of those folks. Bobby Green with Hotard Bus Company. He's been with the company for 40 years. He's their longest tenured employee, and they showed up really to support him. It was incredible to see when we announced his name and played his video, how excited they were to see Bobby honored. And that's an example of the quality and caliber of people we have in this industry. Cheryl Goffner at the Hilton Riverside, which is actually where we did the luncheon. and she's one of their banquet sub captains. So she got maybe the loudest cheers of anybody when we announced her name because her whole crew and staff there was excited. And again, a multi-decade employee of the Hilton, Bobby Menino as well, who's worked in hospitality for over 30, 40 years. And so again, these are opportunities that can be careers, right? I think sometimes people think about hospitality, oh, it's a job or it's something I do when I'm working through school, but there's an opportunity to work in this industry, support your family, to build a career. And we've got some incredible employers. You know, I tell people we got 1,200 members that range from small and medium-sized companies to the larger things you think of when you think about hospitality. And so many of them are dedicated to creating good workspaces for their employees and their staff.
So can you talk to us about, because in addition to your 10th anniversary Job Fest on June 3rd, there's also a hospitality health fair on June 24th, which aims to support the well-being of the hospitality workers. Can you talk to us about that?
Always. So this will be our third one. I think we did the first one at the tail end of 2023, and really give a lot of credit to 504 Health Net. That's been a partner that we've worked with. They've got a program, Healthy Hospitality, that we've supported over the years. And, you know, they brought some great data to us about barriers of entry for healthcare for people in our industry. And some of it certainly is cost, but other factors that were big were time, transportation. And so when you look at that kind of holistically, you say, okay, how can we impact this, right? How can we make healthcare more accessible? How can we make sure that folks in our industry have time to get the diagnostic care and get connected to care? And how can we put together resources that allow people to access care that they can afford, right? Whether it's sliding scale or free visits. And so I give, again, a lot of credit to 504 Health Net and their partners, but Auctioner LCMC really latched on to support this as well. So this is a free event. It's open to the entire community, right? We have a focus on reaching hospitality workers, which is why we kind of do it during the day, during the week, with kind of a big window from 11 to 4 p.m. We do it centrally located downtown. We're going to be at the Fillmore, again, which has been a great partner on this. And so the idea is that, hey, if it's your day off, come down. If you're working and you're getting off shift, come over when your shift ends. If you're going in later that day, come in before your shift starts. If you're on your lunch break, come on over. And so there'll be free diagnostic services there from a number of providers. But just as importantly, they're really trying to connect people to ongoing care, right? And so one of the things 504 Health Net does an amazing job of is this network of community health centers around the city. So regardless of what neighborhood you live in, there's a community health center that can help support you and your family, and understanding that, hey, there's sliding scale. If you have insurance, that's great. That helps support it. But they will work with everybody to make sure they get the care they need. And, you know, I'll share, we did the first one at Champion Square, and it was a rainy day, much like today. We were kind of nervous about turnout and everything else, and we had a good turnout. And I was talking to one of the medical providers afterwards, and they shared that, hey, we screened 3 people that had life-threatening glucose level.
Oh, no.
Like, do not go back to work, do not go home, you know, go get immediate help. And we were able to help connect them to that. And it just shows the importance.
Oh,
and, well, I tell everybody, you know, I'm fortunate to have great insurance, but like most people in our industry, we're focused on taking care of everybody else. And so, you know, I think I'd gone 2 years without seeing my primary care physician. And, you know, every
because
time
you do just get busy.
You get busy.
Is life in your
I'll get to it.
You're taking care of kids. You're
I'm
taking care of everybody,
schedule.
right?
Yes.
You know, everybody else is a priority. And so this is an opportunity to make sure that our folks are a priority and get them screened. Every year I go, I get full checked up. I got my COVID booster. Last time we did it, I got my flu shot there. You know, so I roll my sleeve up and get poked. And I got my eyes checked and realized I needed readers. So I got my first pair of readers after the last health fair. That was you know,
and this
some
is
of the
free.
things that happen.
This is free.
Yeah,
Right?
that's wonderful.
And so it's great. We're excited about all the partners with that helped bring that together. Xavier was there last time. We had some of their students out there from the pharmacy program helping with some instruction and diagnostic care.
And
as
is
well.
this exclusive to hospitality workers, or
not.
can anyone come and get the screening?
This is
at
open
the
to our entire community.
Okay.
So we want folks to come out regardless of what industry you work in. Like I said, we gear this towards them. And I think typically about 40 to 50% of the attendees come from the industry, but everyone's welcome.
Well, we have to, I'm sorry.
It's 8:20
Yeah,
a.m.
we have to take a break, but I'll give you the last word before we switch segment. What would you like the folk to take away from the interview besides this big Job Fest on June 3rd and then the health fair on June 24th? How do you engage them to come out?
I want folks to know that hospitality is here as a part of our community, right? You know, tourism and hospitality has been a part of New Orleans for a long time. and we're here and working harder than ever to make sure that we're supporting the community.
Well, listen, thank you for what you do in service of community. If you're just joining us, you missed a conversation with Kevin Ferguson from New Orleans and Company, talking about the big job fest that they're getting ready to have and the health fest. Two crucial things. We got to be able to work and be paid a living wage, and we got to make certain that we take care of our health. So thank you, Kevin, for what you do on behalf of this community. But when we come back, we're going to talk about it with former Mayor Mark Morial right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
I'm David Patan Sr., owner of Whole Water and Food Over Medicine Academy, coach, consultant, and instructor. We're excited about our 21-day challenge. Stop, prevent, and reverse disease today. Cholesterol, diabetes type 2, high blood pressure, along with chronic illnesses and diseases. We believe that the gift of wellness is the greatest gift, and for $30 per month, $1 a day, you could have this gift for you and your family.
I'm Phyllis Washington, and I've benefited with health and weight loss.
For your gift of $30, healing and wellness can be yours. Call 504-701-4711. That's 504-701-4711. The Whole Water Store. See you at 2135 Washington Avenue today.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
Hi, this is Cary Grant. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events and sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join us every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Cary Show.
This is Jackie Jones with Class Act Entertainment. Join us on May 11th at the Honor Thy Mother Theater Brunch in partnership with WBOK at the Jean Lafitte Auditorium. Experience the red carpet with live interviews and photo ops, along with a chance to win a trip to Las Vegas. Highlighting the afternoon is the original stage play, Mama. The finale, live concert with Piano Man G. Get your tickets at 504-491-1179.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do every Monday. It's Moving Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to
all day long.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM. Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning. Wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Back. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Shout out to my super producer, Naira Sanders, and my co-pilot this morning is the Will Sutton. Hey, Will, if you're just joining the conversation, you missed an interview with Kevin Ferguson from New Orleans and Company talking about this 10th anniversary Job Fest that is happening June 3rd, and there's a hospitality health fair happening June 24th, aiming to support the well-being of our hospitality workers, but it is not exclusive to hospitality workers. So if you're in the area and you want to get checked out, there's a hospitality health fair happening on June 24th, put on by New Orleans and Company. And there was a question that a caller posed after Kevin got off the air. And the question was about this $2.13 hourly wage that most of our hospitality workers are earning, and they're dependent so heavily on tips.
Right.
And so the answer to that is they're working really hard often in the legislature to change it in the legislature, because that's going to be the only way that it'll uniformly change. But it's been shot down multiple times. But in the hotel industry, they have improved the wages there. But in the restaurant industry, they're still trying to work to improve the hourly rate for workers so that these folk are not heavily exclusively dependent on the patronage of folks who are patronizing their establishment.
Yeah, and there are some businesses that have done away with that and added dollars as a minimum wage. Not that it's a living wage, but they've raised it from that $2.13 to $5, $6, or $7. And depending on the business, there are different ways that the tips get distributed, because some it's a pot for everybody and then it's divided. And in other cases, if a customer gives your server or your bartender a tip, that individual gets it. So
how do you determine when you put it in a pot?
Well,
if you saying
that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing it up, because I think a lot of us are used to adding the tip.
Yeah.
But it's good to ask if this is going to the person who served me or the persons who served me, or is it going into the pot? You may agree to give the same amount, but at least you know it's going to be divided at the end of the night.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that. And
Yeah, because I just want to know, like, how do you determine if I tip my server? Is it just customary that it goes into the pot, or is there some
different
exclusionary? You know, I don't know how that goes, but we do know that the weather is bad, and our former mayor is navigating that the weather out there. So we're anxiously waiting to hear from him. But
I do want to mention millage.
We do want to
Yeah,
mention the
I do
millage,
wanna
but while
mention
we wait for him, we're going to jump into a couple other. Look, there he is. Let's see. He must have said, Don't take. But we are going to talk about the millage.
Yeah.
Before we go today, because we do know that there was a recount.
Yeah.
And we do know that the recount produced two additional
Two
votes
additional yes
in
votes.
terms of the yes. So I wonder if that changes that Mr. Foster's stance, because he said if it was more than two, he probably wouldn't have challenged it. But
absolutely.
Yep, but the man of the moment of the hour is here. How are you? Listen, I'm on the air, so I would stand up and greet you properly.
But hey,
and I apologize that I can't, but I'm working.
Yeah.
But I do want to properly welcome you to the Good Morning Show. Our former mayor, Mark Morial. Hi, how are you
it's
doing?
So great to see you.
I also saw you last
Great
night
to see you.
at the gala.
The gala was incredible.
You raised your paddle.
Yeah,
I saw you.
Xavier University, the Centennial was special.
It was.
I mean, I just think that the love and the affection for Xavier, for Dr. Francis, for what the university represents, was so present in the room.
Yeah.
It was a great event. It was a powerful event. And then with Brian Gumbel and his words, and then Magic Johnson.
Yes, listen.
Walking in with
the mic drop.
500,000.
We didn't recognize your contribution.
Yeah.
But then, and a bunch of other people. And then, what does he do? And he so casually says, $500,000.
Yeah. Bill Bellamy said it best. Bill Bellamy said, now he want to come out here and make everybody feel poor.
Well, you know what, compared to him,
we'll take it.
I am happy for the brother to achieve that success, to be able to do something like that.
It's a testament to the character and the kind of person Magic Johnson is.
Yes.
He's achieved incredible success, but he's generous with his time. He's been generous with his money. And, you know, I think he's a role model for so many athletes and entertainers about how you don't let your success go to your head. You don't become sort of someone who feels that when people want your time, you're imposed on. And you make your wealth work for not just yourself but for others.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily go and advance yourself to keep it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go and advance yourself so you can come back and be of service to community.
I just saw Bill Gates announce that he was giving away
all of his money
95% of his wealth in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Which is an incredible thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, it's an example because look, America today has created billionaires with wealth unforeseen.
Yes.
30 years ago.
Yes.
Right.
We have 900 billionaires. We should talk about millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have billionaires, and we have probably some people who are on the way to become trillionaires.
Yes.
I mean, tremendous wealth has been created by the technological revolution and the financial revolution that has taken place. And Americans, I think those 900 Americans have a big time responsibility.
They do.
And they should be thinking about others. And we ought to not have public policy and a political system that's simply trying to continue to enrich them even more.
Yeah, and talking about helping other folk, you're here with the State of the People Power Tour. So thank you for being a part of that.
Yeah.
I think you being on the lineup is a huge draw to get people into the room to talk about policy, to talk about how do we move forward with a collective agenda to advance Black folk, right? So where are you
Well,
with
I want
that?
to give Angela Rye, who has been
we interviewed her just recently,
prime organizer of this effort, and I've known Angela for 20 years, and she's really been a great activist, a public personality, and an organizer. And this State of the People tour, along with those, is really a collaborative effort, and the National Urban League is proud to support it because we have to support all things that go to wield the resistance that's needed in this moment. MAGA is a movement. Okay, it is a movement unprecedented in modern American history. It's not just a political movement. It's a political and it's a cultural movement. It is foundationally a white nationalist or supremacist movement. It is about white nationalist and supremacist identity politics in its core. Now, it seeks to mask it in many respects. But if you think about the fact that the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden,
we just mentioned it.
Yes. Unceremoniously, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, unceremoniously, and the head admiral in the Coast Guard, Air Force, or Navy, I'm not sure. These are people who are black. These are people who are women. They are being purged from leadership roles in the government. And no one has said they made a mistake. They're incompetent. They are incapable of doing their job. And we have to stand up to this and call it out. Because it's just an example. 250,000 federal employees have been sacked and laid off. And these employees are not just black people. They are people of all backgrounds. They're white collar. They're blue collar. Why are we having a problem with air traffic controllers at Newark Airport? Because the first thing this Doge disaster came in and did was cut employees, including employees at the Federal Aviation Administration. So these problems that we see are being created by policy choices that are made by the administration of the 47th president.
And the craziest thing about it is they're doing so under the cloak of this meritocracy, but you're replacing folk who have all of the merit, all of the expertise, and then you're replacing them with folk who are not.
Let's talk about that for one hot minute.
Yeah.
Now, merit is a code word.
Oh, yeah.
Code word. So this is what I say to people. I tell people that diversity, equity, and inclusion and merit go hand in hand. Because what diversity, equity, and inclusion basically said is, let's give everyone with merit a shot. Everyone with merit a chance. And merit has become a code word, just like DE&I seems to have become the new N-word. Boogeyman word. So I don't say DE&I, I say diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We do too here at WBOK.
I say equal opportunity.
Yes.
I say equal access to the American dream.
Yes.
We've got to defend the progress, even if that progress has not been what we want over the last 70 years, since Brown versus Board of Education, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, the War on Poverty, all of the steps that they've made America better. They've made America stronger. They've made, not just black Americans have made progress, not what we want, not where we need to be, but have helped the entire nation. Look, we almost have a $30 trillion economy today. Ronald Reagan's first year in office, the economy was $5 trillion. Now it's 30 trillion. 6-time increase in a 40-year period. It's incredible and amazing, right? Now, poverty's still too high. The rent is too damn high. Cost of living is not where we need it to be. It's tough for not only people at the bottom, it's tough for many people in the middle. We absolutely do know that. But civil rights and the movement for social justice in this country has made the nation a stronger nation, a better nation, a more competitive nation. And it feels to me that this MAGA movement is looking in the rearview mirror, trying to create some America of the past, an antique view about tariffs, an isolationist view when it comes to foreign affairs, the injection of division, racial division, gender division, division over gender identity. I just have a different vision for the future of the country. I just think that the vision is a multicultural, multiracial democracy. I think that is the vision. That's the only way we can survive. That's the only way we can thrive. That's the only way we can compete with China or compete with India or compete with the emerging nations of the world from an economic standpoint. We got to have all this talent, all these young people from every walk, every background, well-developed, well-educated, well-prepared. That's how we compete, not by cutting people off, eliminating Pell Grants, removing NIH grants from schools. That's a formula for disaster and failure.
So how can people connect to these issues that you're talking about tonight at the Power Tour rally, which is at McDonough 35?
Well, we've missed tonight. Has that been the nexus of the conversation?
I think that is the nexus of the conversation. Well, great question. In this movement and in this time, everybody's got to do what they can do. So the thing we cannot do is stand on the side. Wait for a savior, wait for a movement, wait for an election. This is not going to be fixed by an election alone. This is a movement that goes beyond electoral politics. So people have to activate. You need to join a civil rights organization. You need to get involved online in the resistance. You need to show up at town halls. You need to keep your people accountable. I just tell people, everyone who says, what's the big strategy and plan? The civil rights movement was an organic movement. The movement for Black lives that took place after George Floyd was organic. We're going to have to match the MAGA movement with a movement. And it's a movement for freedom. It's a movement for justice. It's a movement for equality, for tolerance, for participation. So get involved. So National Urban League, we're involved right now on a number of fronts. Next week, we have our legislative conference, our legislative policy conference in Washington. We'll be releasing a report 5 years since George Floyd. We'll be talking about a candid, clear-eyed assessment of America 5 years later. We'll also be releasing our own tax plan because this discussion about taxes. So we thought it's important. We got to say what kind of tax plan would benefit working men and women. What type of tax plan? The tax plan being proposed by the Trump coalition is a tax plan that gives 70% of the benefits to the top 5% of Americans. I think as one of my good friends, community leaders used to tell me here in New Orleans, he used to say, Mayor, put the jam on the bottom shelf. Put the peanut butter and jelly where we can reach it. Because you put it on the top shelf, we can't get to it. When it comes to taxes, we need to be reducing tax burdens for working men and people, people who make under $100,000 a year, right? People who are down, in the middle and at the bottom. So we're going to be doing those two things. Thirdly, in addition to the State of the People tour, Reverend William Barber is on a monthly basis is doing Moral Mondays in Washington, D.C. to activate in opposition to the federal budget. So this is an important blueprint document that is where they want to make permanent the cuts to education, to Medicaid. They want to attack Medicare. They want to attack investments in job training and workforce. They want to cut Pell Grants and guaranteed student loans. They are emasculating investments in our cities, our communities, both urban and rural and suburban. And they want to give billions more to the military to buy fighters and tankers and military hardware and equipment that even the military doesn't believe it needs. So the value proposition and the balance of the budget is off kilter. Make working people and poor people pay so that billionaires in the military can thrive. Something is wrong. What we say is it ought to be more balanced. What we say is you've got to have, the history shows, whether you go back to the Reagan years, is that when you cut these investments, you're going to hurt people. You're going to hurt people who are senior citizens. You're going to hurt people who are working. You're going to hurt working moms. You're going to hurt children. You're going to hurt schools. There's no reason. Our tax dollars, we all pay taxes, should be invested to grow this country. And I really feel that people are going to have to. So, Reverend Barber, again, we're coalescing with him. Repairs of the Breach, the Moral Monday movement. So we are active, and then we'll be in Cleveland this summer for the National Urban League Conference, where all of these issues, the defense of democracy, the demand for diversity, the defeat of poverty, are going to be central to the conversation. You know, we work with anyone, anywhere, anyhow, who has the best interests of our constituency at heart, and that's what we're doing. So tonight is at McDonough 35 High. Encourage people to come out, be a part of the participation. I'm proud to be there. There'll be, I'm certain, a lot of community leaders, activists, and some spokespersons from out of town who'll be there. But it's the second stop on maybe an 8 to 10 city effort. That is to conclude at Morgan State University, I think sometime in late June. So it's an ambitious effort. But think about it this way. The whole idea is to go out and listen to the community. Hear what the community has to say. Give the community a chance. This is our own a town hall series, if you will.
Well, we look forward to hearing what you and others have to say tonight. But I hear you, and what we really want is for people to come out and find their role, find their place in building this movement. Because as part of an organic process, it's not going to be one man or one woman that says, follow me, and this will be the way. It's going to take all of us, whatever we can do.
And I want to make a special appeal to younger people. Now, we're all young.
Yes.
I said younger.
Yes.
Okay? Younger people to come and be a part. You know, social media is powerful, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
You got to also show up in person.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And thank you for
having me.
what you do. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can join the conversation tonight at the State of the People Power Tour happening tonight at McDonough 35. Our former mayor, the Mark Morial, and the current president of the National Urban League will be in the building. Thank you for being here, sir, this morning. Listen, on the other side of the break, Will and I jump back into the things.
Oh, there's some stuff happening. There's some stuff.
Absolutely, right here, WBOK 1230 AM, when New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
National World War II Museum. Located in the Warehouse District of New Orleans, the National World War II Museum tells the story of America's experience in the war that changed the world, why it was fought, how it was won, and what it means today. Visit them online at www.nationalww2museum.org for time tickets and safety information.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 AM on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
The legendary Broadway show is back. The Wiz. The Chicago Tribune raves. It's an eye-popping, high-intensity revival and a cause for celebration. The music, the voices, the legend returns. Entertainment Weekly says, run, don't ease on down to this spectacular revival. The Wiz. Playing the Sanger Theater May 13th through 18th. Tickets at BroadwayInNewOrleans.com.
Just a kid who grew up in New Orleans East. First attended public schools, then to St. Augustine High School. After college, Arthur Hunter became a police officer. And while community policing the housing projects, Arthur Hunter worked his way through Loyola Law School at night and became a respected judge who lectured at Harvard, Yale, and Columbia Law Schools. Now, Arthur Hunter is asking to be your next mayor. Because the best way to get better police officers is from a mayor who's been a police officer. To bring life back to our playgrounds and neighborhoods is a mayor who played on them as a kid. And to have a government that's accountable is a mayor who's been a criminal court judge, Arthur Hunter. He's been called the best candidate for mayor you may not know yet, but you will. Arthur Hunter, mayor. Paid for by Arthur Hunter for New Orleans.
Hey, everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show on WBOK.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my co-pilot this morning, V. Will Sutton, and to our former mayor and the current president of the National Urban League, V. Mark Morial, for joining us this morning. We're going to jump straight to the phone lines.
He was laying it down.
Anais, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Grand Rising, Soror.
Hey,
Grand
Soror.
Rising. Good
Hey,
morning
Soror.
to everyone. Your niece was online. She was holding because she wanted to speak on the school situation, so I was told to relay this message to you.
Okay.
The message is she feels that it's very unfair of how students are handled in the situations that's going on. She mentioned to me that in 7th and 8th grade in public school in New Orleans, she had more than 5 kids in her class who could not read. She is currently in a private school and she has 2 kids in her 9th grade class that cannot read. And she feels that it's unfair because I work hard to earn my to graduate, and they just get passed on. So she said to tell you that she would like you to hear the voice of the kids, the voice of the students, because it's not fair.
Well, maybe we need to put a town hall together, for children, and I can moderate it, and we could definitely have an open conversation about the state of education from the viewpoint of our kids. That's a wonderful thing. And here's the thing, maybe Anais could co-moderate with me and we can get this that's a wonderful idea. We'll put it together. Tell my niece I said I will absolutely work on that. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Listen, we have some breaking news about Dillard's graduation, which is taking place tomorrow, May 10th at 10 a.m. It is not happening at 10 a.m. 8 a.m.?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. It's May 10th at 8 a.m.
Yes.
My apologies. May 10th at 8 a.m. It is not happening
on the campus.
On the campus, as it normally does.
Hall of the Oaks.
It's going to be moved to Franklin Avenue Baptist Church, 8282 I-10 Service Road, and that is 8 a.m. tomorrow,
right.
May 10th. That is the change in venue for Dillard University's baccalaureate exercises. So if you are graduating, you have a relative who's graduating, you're planning to attend Dillard's graduation, it is not taking place on the campus. It is moving to Franklin Avenue Baptist Church, 8282 I-10 Service Road, 8 a.m. tomorrow, May 10th. That is the change for Dillard. But congratulations to the graduates.
Yeah, and that's the Crowder exit.
The Crowder exit, yeah. 8282 I-10 Service Road. Congratulations to all of the graduates all across this city and state who are earning college degrees, high school diplomas. Congratulations to the graduates. Today is the last day of Teachers Appreciation Week. So shout out to all of the teachers. And do not forget, there is a teacher shower going on tonight, 9 p.m. at Boomers and Boomtown Casino, celebrating 25 of the most amazing educators all across this city in honor of Dr. Ashanta White. We're going to celebrate our teachers because we cannot ever pay them enough for all of the work that they do. So this is a token of love and appreciation from those of you whose lives they've impacted. Come out and celebrate them. Make sure you bring them some sort of trinket, maybe some flowers, maybe a gift card, because if you give the teachers the money, they're going to go just spend it on the classroom and put it back in the classroom. So we want them to actually do something for themselves. So shout out to all of the educators all across this country, actually. And shout out to the nurses who are actually at the bargaining table trying to get some fair waging, some safe protocols going on in the hospital. So we want to keep the nurses at the forefront of our minds because we know what that will look like if we did not have nurses in our hospitals. We've seen that story, and it does not end well. So we need to make certain that we honor our workers all across the city.
Do want to mention before we go that there was a recount. We had Darren Lombard on the other day, and Mr. Feliciano, the guy who requested the recount. So it did not change the result. The numbers did change. Instead of a 2-vote margin of victory, it's a 4-vote margin of victory.
And it made it to the newspaper, so I guess it's going to be certified?
Mr. Lombard and his team and the Secretary of State have to review this, and so it has not been officially certified.
Just yet?
But we expect certification, and they'll go through it with some fine looking at everything that happened, including human error, and I believe they're going to do that today, and then we'll let you know Monday. What happened?
Congratulations to Sheriff Hudson on a victory with that millage, getting well-needed funding to continue to service our jail. Because again, that is not a place where convicted people are. That is a place that houses people in transition to get their cases settled, so they're innocent until proven guilty. And the facility should reflect the fact that they're innocent until proven guilty. There should be some modicum of humanity going on inside of that, because we don't know, if these are people held without cause or if their cases are real cases. So we should make certain that the resources and the funding is there so that she could adequately govern that place. So congratulations to her with the 4-vote victory. It's been quite a show, so we want to thank all of our guests. We want to thank the WBOK Listen audience, and we want to shout out the teachers once again, because today is the last day of Teachers Appreciation Week. But y'all stay tuned. Up next for the Front Porch with Graylin and Kimba, as far as the Good Morning Show and Dr. Ashanta White. We're going to see y'all next week. This is WBOK 1230 a.m. when New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
All day long.